Things are live on a Wednesday. You're not hearing me? No, you are.
Wait, you don't have your mic on.
I don't have my mic on.
I don't know. Couldn't hear you.
You went out for a bit. Now you're back.
I don't clip a mic on the road. I got a little thing. Fun fact. It's here. Can't see it. I'm not going to hit it because I don't want to beat anyone's eardrums in. But anyway, all I wanted to say was a perk of a Game 7 in a World Series. There's basically no downtime.
True.
Monday hits, you recap it. We still have manager openings. We had one filled yesterday, and then it's opt-in or opt-out city, which we're about to cover. So the MLB calendar is really nice, AJ, for show purposes. For our kind of show, MLB calendar is legit.
Yeah, just the free agent period lasts forever. So we always have something to talk about, and we always have songs that producer lady can make about things that, take too longer than they should.
Actually, that's a good point. Real quick, before we start. If there's one big storyline to follow, like where will Juan go from last year, what is it?
Where will Tarek Skubal pitch next year?
That's a new one. Side note B, where will Tuck?
But does that have as much intrigue as where will Juan go? No.
He's been injured the last 2 years. I mean, there's not a guy on this year's free agent crop where you're like, man, this guy can change. It's because it was supposed to be Vladdy Daddy, but Vladdy Daddy instead decided to stay in Toronto for only $500 million. I don't know how he could just, only $500 million, but he decided to stay, and good for him. But the rest of the free agent, Tucker's been hurt the last couple of years. His production went down a little bit. So yeah, Bo is banged up though. So who's the big name? Maybe that's what I should ask you. Who's the biggest name? Tucker and Bo Bichette?
Kyle Tucker is going to receive the most money. I think Bo Bichette's name is just as, if not bigger than Kyle's. And Kyle is super low key, quiet.
But is Kyle a franchise changing guy, right? Like, can he single-handedly, because even Jim Bowden yesterday, when we had Jim Bowden on, he's like, he needs to go to a team where he's not the guy. Well, do you pay a guy $400 million to not be the guy?
Corey Seager-esque. I would put him in that realm where you're like, man, you can pencil him in if he's healthy for an OPS plus of 140. So he's going to do his thing if healthy. But yeah, you can pay $400 million I don't think every superstar is the leader of the team. I'm trying to think.
I didn't say the leader, but I said somebody that, you don't have to be the leader, but you have to be someone where that can. The team is, and Corey Seager is that guy in Texas. I'm sorry, the team goes as he goes.
I think Tucker is.
You think? You think he's a guy? You think he can be Batman and he's not a Robin?
I do. I think he can be. I think if you're looking for that, I think we've seen it in Corey Seager, and besides the fact that Corey Seager plays shortstop, that's so tough to have somebody that's not the guy, that's not playing a premium position. But I think if you add Kyle Tucker to a lineup, that is a guy that you're always worried about every time you're playing against him. He can come up with the big hit. He's always been Robin on the teams, but he's played better than Batman on some of the teams. I guess not this year on the Cubs, he wasn't. This year on the Cubs, he was supposed to be the guy. And early in the season, PCA was the one getting all the love. PCA was he was the Don. And then, he still just did what he did. Did what Tucker does.
Yeah, but I think these are two different combos, though.
Yeah. He didn't have a good year. Kyle Tucker will not look at this year and say, I didn't have a good year. Because he missed a lot of it.
Good game-for-game numbers. He didn't miss as much as you think. He missed 30 games.
But the second half, he was not good.
But you're paying for the whole season. I get it. The second half, he wasn't as good. But unless you're going to tell me he's on a decline, I'm not going to buy that. His second half wasn't as good.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying the last 2 years he's been injured. and the numbers have not been. I mean, 22 homers, 73 RBIs, and 500 at bats. Is that $422 million? I mean, I'm just asking. This is not an opinion either way. I mean, he was a 143 OPS plus, which is a little bit higher than his average, which is 140 for his career. His OPS was down a little bit, 841. I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. Like, this isn't. I don't have an opinion either way. I don't really care, to be honest with you. Hope he gets every dollar. I'm just asking because, like Jim Bowden said the other day, is he the guy? He needs to be second. I'm not. That's Jim Bowden's opinion. I'm not saying either way. I don't care. Get $750 million. I don't care, Kyle. Whatever they'll pay you, take every cent because they're going to try to limit your wages every chance they get.
Yeah, and he's an all-around player. That will change, of course, in 5 years, right? If he signs for 10, 12 years, he's not going to be known for his defense and base running 5 to 7 years from now. My point is, right now, he's a middle-of-the-lineup superstar when he's healthy. The last 2 years, he has missed some pretty decent time. It was really 2 years ago where he missed half the year. But before that, he had a really good run of durability. I mean, you look at some of the injuries, I don't think they're chronic. So I think that if you're buying into him, he'll be a factor in terms of playing time. Like, I don't think this is suddenly an injury-prone player, but he's super quiet. And so I wouldn't look at him as the team leader galvanizing the boys. But like Kratz said, the Rangers go as Corey Seager goes. He's not galvanizing the crew. So
what did Kevin Pillar? What did Kevin Pillar say about the Rangers?
But they won a championship.
They won.
They did.
So
they did. No, I'm not arguing that at all. Kyle Tucker's won too. Kyle Tucker won in 22.
That's right. It's good debate. So we'll go over it. To recap, though, I actually think where will Bo go would flow better in terms of some type of fun animation. If producer lady is listening, I think that would be fun. Plus, you're coming off the World Series appearance for the Blue Jays, and they're so excited, and it would be devastating if he leaves. So where will Bo go does stand out to me more than where will Tuck. And something on Tarek trade rumors or something sounds intriguing. So just some fun that could pop up. I would like something annoying to
You said if producer lady's listening, she's listening. Yeah. I'm pretty sure she doesn't miss a whole lot.
In case she's checking in a guest or something, if there's some 80s music that fits the vibe, we're just throwing it out there. All right, let's charge. Charging the mound. There have been a ton of opt-outs. Most of them make sense. There have been some opt-ins over the last 24 hours. Let's start with Jack Flaherty. He's going to stay with the Tigers for 2026. If he hit 15 starts, which he did this past season, it gave him the ability to have a 2026 $20 million option. If he didn't take this, because I think this is important, AJ, the Tigers could have thrown a qualifying offer at him because if you remember, he never had the qualifying offer before that. He was traded during the 2024 season to the Dodgers, so he didn't have to deal with it at the time. I don't think free agency went quite as he thought it would last go round, and he has been vocal about how it sucked. So, thoughts on this decision for him?
This is what he wanted to do. $20 million is nothing to sneeze at. And this is if you look at his quotes, and I've been through free agency, it's not the best time in the world. I mean, is it great if you're Juan Soto and if you're this guy and Shohei Ohtani and all these teams are whining and dining you? But like his quotes make so much sense. He can make $20 million. What's the qualifying offer going to be? $22 million. So he's going to have to deal with, what do I take the qualifying offer and then I won't have as much value. Plus what he went through last year wasn't fun for him. He had to wait, remember, and then he ended up back in Detroit. He likes it in Detroit. He thinks they have a chance again. They're giving him $20 million. Good for you, Jack Flaherty. Listen, everyone says, it's not always about the money. Could he got more money by going on a one-year deal if they give him the qualifying offer? Sure. But he's happy there. He likes it there. Good for you, bro. Like, I have no problem with this. Like, good. If that's where you want to be, do it, dude.
And he's going to be 31 years old when he's done this season. There's plenty of dudes that are going to free agency at 32. He's still going to be young. I guess, he has to re-up his value at 15 losses, 4.6 ERA. Like, yes, he didn't have the best of years. Nobody's going to deny that. So opt in, get your money. He's gonna recoup his value here, and I don't know if you can ever put a dollar value outside of himself putting a dollar value on it, what it means to be at a place that you like. I don't like, you can never tell somebody, well, this is why, and this is how much we feel like it's worth it. There's, he's probably not going to get that much more than the 21.7 qualifying offer anywhere else. So then you're like, okay, I don't know this place that I'm going to go sign at. Yes, he could get another 2-year deal, but to me, playing where you're comfortable, they know him. He pitched there the last 2 years, and he can finish what they tried to do this year. Hopefully the team adds to that and recoup his value, and he can get 3-4 year deal till he's 35. Plenty of pitchers are being paid till they're 35 on very nice contracts.
And we have seen pitchers sign late and have significant issues. That's part of this as well. If he ends up having to take another 1-year contract and he goes somewhere he doesn't want to go and he doesn't know where he's going, right? Now he knows where he's going on November 4th versus potentially February 4th, March 4th.
He can get his place in Lakeland. He can get his place in Detroit already. I mean, he can have everything ready to go. There's something to be said, like Kratz said, for knowing where you're going, enjoying where you're at. Listen, as somebody that took less money multiple times to stay with the White Sox, which I look back on and was like, man, I should have got more money. But it was where I was happy, it was where my family was happy, and it's where I liked and where I wanted to be. So, I mean, because at the end, I wanted to sign back there again after my last year there, and they wanted nothing to do with me. But I was loyal all those years until, then I was a free agent again, and they didn't want anything to do with me. So, but for those 8 years where I was there, it was great. And I took less money to go there and stay there because my family was happy. I was happy. I had a place there. I knew what I was doing for spring training. I knew the people there. It was just a good place to be. So you can't put a value on quality of life. I'm sorry.
Also, enjoying that place is, I think you play better. Maybe I never got to stay in one place, so maybe I can't speak on this, but if your family is taken care of, if they enjoy where you're at, if there's a comfortability there, not a complacency, comfortability, then you play. I assume you play better. I never got to experience that, but that's what I hear AJ saying.
Real quick, from a statistical standpoint, Jack Flaherty, 161 innings this year, 4.64 ERA. Expected ERA 4.04, a little bit better, but the StatCast page does have a lot of blue and gray. The strikeout percentage is 27.6. That's 82nd percentile. A lot of the rest are not fantastic. So there's risk. That is what front offices are looking at, right? Jack was not going to be a wined and dined guy. He was going to be I see a little blue and gray on this part. Fastball velo 92.8, and often you'll see a start where if he's 93, 94, 95, it's great. If it's a little lower that day, it's not. They're going to point out all the things, all the pimples, and he doesn't have to deal with that now. So I give him credit. Good for you. Go back to a place you like. Focus on winning. You're getting plenty of money, and his offseason is now set. Coming up next, Ken Rosenthal, back from the World Series. We'll talk to him about the offseason. Hey, subscribe to Foul Territory. 281, I think, 1,000 subs. So we'd like to get to 300 in the next month or two. That'd be great. Give us a little sub. Thank you very much. Baseball the way it should be covered. That's a t-shirt. FoulTerritoryShop.com. Trevor Story staying with the Red Sox. 2 years, $55 million left on his contract. AJ, to me, this was a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had a good year this year too. Let's not forget. So this was one of those that was never going to opt out unless he went crazy. But he had good years. He had a good year this year. So good for him.
He had a good year, but he had a lot of injuries before that. So the question always is, A, do you like where you are? And then B, or really it should be B, do you like where you are? A, what would you get as a free agent? Kratz, he's not getting to 55 as a free agent.
No. He might get 55, but they would spread it out. They would spread it out way more. So just because the shortstop class in free agency, I don't think is very big. I
don't think
my
he
biggest
would get
thing
55.
Total? You don't think he would get that?
No.
Okay.
I think he would
That's
get
fine.
maybe
2 years, 55. He's not getting 255.
Kratz said maybe he would get like 3 years or 4 years 55. I don't think he would get 50 plus guaranteed.
Why not just give him take the 255 and then maybe try to sign for another year or two at a time? I mean, this was a no.
What would he get if he's a free agent though, AJ? Right now, if he went through the process,
maybe 240, maybe.
Yeah, I would say 2 in the 30s, 232, 16 a year, something like that, based on age and injury history. What were you gonna say, Kratz? We got a minute.
Oh, no. I love the fact that he came back from that shoulder injury and he's throwing the ball well. I know he had a stretch right at the end of the season where he was really kicking the ball around a little bit, and he said, maybe I'm getting a little tired. But I think he adds a swag to that team that's needed. And if his defense stays like it was all the way up until the very end of the season, they need defense bad.
Yeah, it'll be good for Boston, and they'll have depth. Marcelo Meyer's going to come back this season, too. He's a rookie and then got hurt. It is the first inside scoop with Ken Rosenthal of the offseason on FT. Ken, very good to see you rested back from the World Series. We can get to a couple World Series questions on the back end. I do want to start with offseason freshness, and we didn't get to Shane Bieber yet. So your thoughts on Bieber returning to the Blue Jays for $16 million? You just covered him in the World Series.
I was surprised. People with the Blue Jays were surprised. People in the industry were surprised. And you just don't see this kind of decision very often. He could have declined the option, taken a $4 million buyout. So he's at $4 million ahead. And then in free agency, I would think $350, something like that, 3 years, $50 million, maybe even more. But for whatever reason, he wants to be in Toronto one more year. Now, maybe the rehab is part of this. Maybe he feels that they treated me really well. He's comfortable with their medical staff. He's still only 18 months removed from Tommy John surgery. And my initial thought also was, well, okay, perhaps an extension is coming. But my understanding is that there is no extension as part of this. It really hasn't even been discussed. It has not been a motivator for him in making this decision. So it's curious. I don't exactly know what Shane Bieber was thinking. Obviously, he liked it there. We know that all people like it there, it seems like. All players, and even their wives and girlfriends, based on what we've heard the last few days. But he still could have leveraged that into 1 or 2 more years, guys. Let's do it. And at least to this point, he hasn't done that.
Ken, this is your time to shine. If you ever had a time to shine, now is your time, Ken. So it's time to step up your game and remember who you are, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but the book behind you, that's why you have the book behind you that reminds you every time you look back there. Remember who you are, Ken. Here's my question.
Pedro Gomez, by the way, the late Pedro
I love
Gomez.
Pedro. I love Pedro.
Make fun of that.
I'm not making fun of that at all. I love Pedro. Now, my question is, Shane Bieber opts in. Is there any of these that are more surprising? Trevor Story, 2 years, 55, right? Jack Flaherty, 1 year, 20. That seemed like a no-brainer, kind of with the qualifying offer thing and what he went through last year. But any of the opt-outs, I mean, Shota was the biggest one that was like, wait, they didn't get this done with Shota. But the other ones, it almost seems like chalk, right? Like it's chalk and these are pretty easy to predict going to the offseason.
I would agree, AJ. And even Shota, to me, was kind of an obvious one. The Cubs were not going to do 3 years, $57.5 million. That's the option they would have had to have picked up. I think it was 57.5, in that range. And then at that point, Shota gets the right to decline his option in that deal. And he knows that he can do better with a qualifying offer, which I assume he's going to get from the Cubs. 1 year, $22.05 million. To me, this is kind of checkmate by the Cubs to Shota, because if he gets the qualifying offer, then he is saddled with that in free agency. It's always more difficult with the qualifying offer than without. And maybe it's best for him just to come back on a 1 year deal, $22.05 million. And then the Cubs are happy because they'd always rather have a player on a 1 year deal than a 3 year deal when that player had some questions about him this season. So none of those that you mentioned were a surprise. Trevor Story on the open market, could he have done better than $55 million in total guarantee? Maybe, but he certainly wasn't going to do better in average annual value. And with regard to Jack Flaherty, as you mentioned, AJ, he had a really difficult free agency last year. Now, he wouldn't have had the qualifying offer on him this year, okay, but if I'm him, I understand why he did that. I think it drives players crazy to a certain degree, certain players, when they linger on the market and it's endless and it goes into February and they still don't know what they're doing. This way, he knows what he's doing. It's on him. He's on a 1 year deal. If he has a good year, go back in the market. And if he doesn't have a good year, well, he's back in the market anyway. But he kind of is in control of this situation.
During these decisions, I know you're not an agent and you've never been a free agent, but you have inside info. Is there some tampering in the sense of very mild tampering? And maybe I'm not even using the right word. Like, hey, you know what? If we take this opt-out, what does it look like for you?
I do expect and think that when agents are surveying the market, it's not necessarily tampering, but maybe they were calling around to teams saying, hey, what do you think of my guy? What would he get on the open market? That's not tampering. That's perfectly within the rules as far as I know. And yeah, that I would expect happens to some degree, or at least their feel for the market, talking to people, that is something that does take place. Now, with regard to teams tampering, my answer to that would be, I don't know that anything totally illegal goes on, but is contact made at times between teams and players and agents? Come on. It's baseball. People are always looking to get an edge. Something's going on at all times. And I don't know the extent, Erik. I couldn't tell you that. I've never actually witnessed it or kind of experienced it as a reporter, understanding what might be going on out there. But do I think it goes on? Yeah, I think it goes on.
All right. Well, again, you couldn't break a big story for us of who was going to be the Braves manager until a long time. We had nothing. Alex Anthopoulos didn't let us know anything about it. What do you feel like, or what do you know took so long? Because obviously it came out that Danny Lehman was probably going to be there. Hey, he's still playing. He's still coaching in the World Series. And then it comes out that it's Walt Weiss, which on this show we felt like was a great hire for the Braves.
I don't know what took so long, to be perfectly honest. And as Walt Weiss said yesterday, Alex Anthopoulos, their president of baseball operations, he likes to operate in the shadows. He likes it when people don't know what he's thinking. And I actually said this on my show yesterday before the hiring was announced, that when it came out that Danny Lehman was maybe the front runner, this was reported by MLB.com and other outlets as well, I was immediately skeptical, because with Anthopoulos, I've come to learn that if you hear a name and there's something going on and it gets public, that's usually not the guy. Now, what took so long? I imagine from just an outside perspective, he was surveying all of his options, probably Lehman included, and in the end decided, you know what, I'll just stick with Walt Weiss. But I don't know. And maybe, I'm just speculating here, maybe ownership stepped in. Maybe there was a difference of opinion in that front office with ownership or within, who knows? But this is where they ended up. And to me, Walt Weiss is one of these guys, like Brandon Hyde, like David Ross, who deserves another chance. Now, is he going to be a great manager? I have no idea. But in all of his years managing the Rockies and then being the bench coach for the Braves for 8 years now, should he be in a better position to succeed than he was before? Absolutely he should. So we've seen a couple of hires here kind of off the radar, right? Vitello and Blake Butere in Washington. I get it. And hey, those guys might really be successful. We don't know that. But to me, when you overlook men who have done the job, who have proven they can do the job and do it pretty well, I have a little bit of a problem with that.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair, Ken. We at the top of the show, we had a discussion. What was the biggest thing in this offseason that we're going to be watching? And I said Detroit and Tarek Skubal. And we had Jim Bowden on the other day, and he said, yeah, absolutely, the Tigers are going to trade Tarek Skubal. What are you hearing, and what are your thoughts on this? Because he could get, I mean, I don't know what he could get, but I'm assuming he could get a nice package coming off two Cy Youngs in a row, 1 year away. You get a full year of him. He's been healthy. He could bring back a monster package for the Tigers.
But let's go back to Corbin Burns a couple of years ago. Corbin Burns was in the same situation that Skubal is in now, entering his free agent year. The return for Corbin Burns was the shortstop, Joey Ortiz, the reliever, maybe starter, DL Hall, and a high draft pick. I think it was the number 37 pick overall. That was a good return for 1 year of Corbin Burns. So would Skubal be better than that? Probably a little bit better than that. Okay. If you're the Tigers, do you want to take a step back and deal with that when you have Skubal for 1 more year, and maybe you can win by building around him in that 1 year, understanding that an extension is extremely unlikely with Scott Boras as his agent, and understanding that he's going to walk for a draft pick? Do you do that and take that road instead of the one where you're making a trade and taking a step back? I just talked with an executive this morning who made the point, and a good one, that Skubal has masked a lot of the Tigers' ills the last couple of years. Every fifth day, they know they're getting a really competitive start and probably winning. So if you trade him, you don't have that anchor. You don't have that stability that he gives you, and you're taking a step backwards. Do they want to do that after making the playoffs 2 years in a row? I don't know. My friend Joel Sherman of the New York Post has written that they should keep him for the reasons I just stated. At the same time, man, I would definitely dangle him. I would definitely see what's out there, because you're not going to keep him long-term, most likely. And who knows, maybe you get something as appealing as what the Brewers ultimately got for Burns, or even better. The return for Burns, in my mind, was not bad, but we're talking a 2-time Cy Young winner, as you said. Most likely he'll win that award. It's tough to trade that without getting a monster return back.
All right. What teams are lined up for that? What teams are in a position? Obviously, you never had any idea if A.J. Preller is going to say, you know what, we're giving you all 30 of our next prospects for Tarek Skubal. But what teams are lined up for it and in the position to say, you know what, we're willing to, it's time to make a move like this, like the Red Sox did this year?
The Mets would be the obvious team. They need starting pitching. They have young starting pitching that they could include in a trade. They are completely a team that would seem to be obvious in this regard. You can look at any team that is a big market team, or even a team like the Orioles, right? The Orioles took that chance with Corbin Burns. They acquired him, and it worked out well. He was good for them. So I'm not exactly sure which teams are lined up, but the Mets do stand out. I would basically say all the usual suspects would be involved.
Ken, how mad would the Tiger fans be if they made this trade instead of signing him? Because you hear about this, and listen, Corbin Burns was Corbin Burns, but this is Tarek Skubal. This is the guy every fit day that loves being in Detroit. When he pitches, it's a different atmosphere and everything. How big of a deal would this be for Tiger fans if they had to make this move?
I would expect it would be a big deal, but at the same time, when Boras is the agent, and we know that he prefers to take his clients to the open market, and Tarek Skubal could be, who knows, the first $400 million pitcher, you know, as a Tiger fan, it's unlikely that you're going to sign him long-term. Maybe the Tigers do that. I don't know. I don't think so. But you know, as a fan, that is the logical outcome, that he hits the open market and then ultimately he signs with another team. If you're a Tigers fan, maybe you're thinking, you know what? Let's get what we can right now. And while I would prefer, if I'm a Tigers fan, to take a shot at the World Series this year, we all know how difficult it is to win a World Series. I would understand it. I would not like it as a Tigers fan, just as I would not like it as a Pirates fan at the ultimate time that they trade Paul Skeens. But you're looking at what is the best move for your franchise for this season and going forward. And it's an interesting debate, guys. I'm not sure where I stand on it, honestly, because I understand what Joel Sherman was writing. They should keep him and try to win. Definitely, I understand that. But I also see that what's the end game here? A draft pick for Tarek Skubal when you can get that much more? I don't know. One other element here that's worth mentioning. Let's say they keep him and let's say for some reason they're out of contention in July, the return they would get in July is probably not much different than they would get right now. So there is that incentive to keep him as well.
Ken, you know what you just did? You just made the argument that all the fans are saying for a salary cap, Ken, because they're going to say, why can't the Tigers keep him? If we had a salary cap, the Tigers could afford to keep him, which I disagree with. But Ken, Rob Manfred is online too, and he says thank you for making his argument for him.
I'm not making an argument for a salary cap. In fact, if there were a salary cap, Tarek School might decide to become a free agent anyway. Who's to say that he wouldn't want to test the open market and do it that way? It's not a guarantee the Tigers would keep him, just as it's not a guarantee that players wouldn't want to play for the Dodgers under a salary cap system. They still would. So I know this is the conversation we're going to have for the next 12 months, unfortunately. But at the same time, my position has been, and it will remain until I'm shown otherwise, that there are ways to improve this system without imposing a salary cap. And those are the things that the owners should be working on. And I'm going to add one more thing here. We're coming off a World Series that got great ratings, not just in the United States, but around the world. We have, at this moment, a little bit of momentum with this sport, maybe even a lot of momentum with this sport. And it's partly due to the rules changes that Manfred introduced a couple of years ago. He deserves credit for that. Why would you want to mess with that right now? Why would you go backwards? Why would you have a season in 2027 that isn't whole? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know a reasonable justification for that. And ultimately, the owners can play their game and they can go and scream for a salary cap. I'm not even sure they all agree with each other on this particular issue, but they can do that and they can play it out. They will. They always do in these things, but are they really going to compromise the 2027 season? Good luck with that.
Yeah. And there are media contracts that'll be coming up shortly after the lockout that they will impose to some degree, even if we don't miss games. There will at least be some type of stoppage. I think we all agree that they'll put the pressure on. One other point I wanted to make, Ken, MLB would have super teams. I'm thinking about the World Series just now and how much jubilation we saw from Roki Sasaki, Shohei Ohtani, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto together. You have to remember, they're coming from Japan. It's far away. They speak a different primary language. They've really bonded and been able to spend a lot of time together. I also do think that most marketing situations and deals right now revolve around you playing with Shohei, being on Japan's team, which is the Dodgers. There are a ton of Japanese free agents coming up over the next few years that are really talented. I did some homework on some guys for this class. If there was a salary cap, they would just all sign with the Dodgers. They'd be like, cool, I'll take half the money, maybe even less, because I'll make it up in sponsorship, because that is bigger right now than the contracts for most of these guys. Shohei makes 100 off the field. I'm sure Yamamoto's making 20, whatever the number is off the field, a large number from Japan off the field. So just throwing that out there, they would grab every Japanese player. If you think it's unfair now that they're grabbing many of them, they would get all of them.
Fans think of a salary cap as a magic bullet. Some fans think this way, and it's not. And the other advantage the Dodgers would have, and I wrote about this after they won the World Series, they're really good at player development. They're really good at drafting. They're really good at every other way of player acquisition. They are good at getting players on the margins and making them better. None of that goes away with a cap. They're still going to be really smart and really good. Now, would a cap address some of the inequities? Yeah, of course it would. But as I've said, there are other ways to address those inequities, and it's never going to be perfect. We all understand that. Baseball is not football. Baseball revenue is based locally. Football revenue is based largely on the national television contract. It's not on the attendance that you get at your home games. So it's inherently different. I don't know that inherently different is bad. This sport has survived just fine for all this time. And we've heard these complaints over the years from fans, hey, it's not fair. From a revenue standpoint and from a spending standpoint, I can see what they're saying. But we've also seen teams that have thrived in this environment from smaller markets. Just this year, Milwaukee, Cleveland, any number of them. Again, don't get me wrong here. I don't want people getting confused. I'm not saying those teams shouldn't have a better way to compete. They should. What I'm saying is there are enough smart people on both sides of this equation that they should be able to figure out a system that enhances the chances competitively of those small market teams without a salary cap. It shouldn't be impossible. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, then leading into that, what team are you most interested to follow this offseason?
Well, I'm always interested in all of them, Erik, to be honest, but Philadelphia is really interesting because we've heard Dave Dombrowski, the president of baseball operations, talk about his discontent with some of the things that have gone on, and he didn't change the manager. He talked about Bryce Harper needing to be better. That caused the stir, of course. And last offseason, when we thought they were going to do some big things, they really didn't. They're going to lose Ranger Suarez as a free agent, most likely. Schwarber and Real Muto also are free agents, yet they need to refresh their team. So while I expect them to sign Schwarber and maybe even Real Muto too, how do they get better? That's the question. Do you trade Alec Boehm and sign a third baseman? Can you take on another monster contract? I don't know that you can. So they're a fascinating team to watch. And really, we could go through pretty much all the teams and have the same kind of analysis and conversation. It's always interesting to see how each team reacts. Look at Toronto right now. What do? They've got Bieber, obviously, under contract for next year, but Scherzer and Bassett are free agents. Bo Bichette is a free agent. How will they look next season? You can go 1 through 30. Well, maybe not 1 through 30, but 1 through 25 or so and have pretty interesting talks.
And we will talk about all of these teams all off season. Also, Fair Territory is live tomorrow. Alana is out. I am in. I'm just point guarding, and you know what I love to do. I love fan questions. I know there were a few we didn't get to just now. Please join us tomorrow, noon Eastern, and we will rip through as many fan questions as possible. If you're lucky, I will sit in AJ's seat instead of my seat over in Studio AJ.
Ken, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ken.
Sorry,
Ken, I'm sorry, but I will see you tomorrow, and I look forward to it. We'll take many questions. See you then, Ken. Welcome back.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Fair Territory also had their new episode on Monday coming off of the World Series. We didn't do a lot of World Series recapping just now because we did a lot of that on FT the last few days. But if you want more thoughts from Ken on his World Series experience covering the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, go for it. Listen to that episode or check it out on YouTube. And we will be right back with a major injury for the Padres starting rotation. Hey, May Day is part of the FT network. We're going to be shouting out more of our shows just to make sure everyone knows, because there are many of them. Trevor May, bringing it once a week. You can catch Trevor live. So same thing. If you have questions for Trevor, go for it. Trevor is fantastic. He does it kind of in a late night talk show style. So if you've never seen the show, it's got a lot of FT vibes with the way that he breaks down the news. Chandler Rome, part of Crush City Territory, said the Astros have placed Chas McCormick on outright waivers. There were other tweets, I think, from Chandler about how Chas was really a great success story. Kratz, I think he was from your neck of the woods. He's definitely a Philly sports fan, and he was a late round draft pick. And they did a nice job developing him. You know, he's had tougher times the last couple of years, but he had some really big moments for the Astros.
This is where you can get extra value out of your organization. I think it's something the Astros have done really, really well. Kind of a unique right-handed swing where what he does is kind of scissors and he drives the ball the opposite field with ridiculous power. And he's dealt with some injuries recently and kind of played through them. So, you know, hopefully a team sees his value and experience and he can latch on to somebody, maybe like a nice little small 1-year big league deal.
He hits just like a Jose Altuve. That's basically what he tried to be. Didn't do it as well, but he tried. And he carved out a nice little niche for himself in Houston. And sadly, the injuries started to affect him. But some team will pick him up and be like, "Hey, he can hit lefties, or he can do this, he can do that," and he'll find a job and hopefully continue to have a nice career.
Good dude, good interview too. And by the way, back to what I was saying earlier, I was hyping May Day. May Day, in fact, is on today. I didn't give out the time. 3:00 Eastern, literally right after FT. We will show May Day for you. First hour is on the FT YouTube channel. Second hour is on the Trevor May Day YouTube channel. Back next to talk Yu Darvish out for 2026. Hey, we learned that about a week ago, Darvish had surgery to repair his UCL in his elbow, his pitching elbow. He's going to miss the 2026 season. It does sound like it involved the internal brace procedure. From what I know, I only play a doctor on YouTube, podcast, and TV. That is usually a quicker recovery time. That can be more along the lines of the 12-month range versus the 15-ish month range. No, AJ? I think it's
No,
it's
you're
like
right.
3-4 months. Yeah. So
No,
maybe he'll be
you're right.
back for 27. How old is Darvish, by the way? I was about to look
He's
it up.
40 or 41, I think.
39.
40 or 40.
39? Okay.
He's going to be 40 this year. Yeah, I knew it was something like that.
Yep.
So he's out. Let me just set this up, AJ, from a starting rotation perspective for San Diego. Ooh. Right now, they're coming in about $20 million under last year's payroll, according to Kratz contracts. But that is taking away Dylan Cease, Michael King, both free agents. And now let me set up the current rotation for them. Nick Pivetta, still on for next year, coming off a career year. Great. Joe Musgrove will be back next season. JP Sears, trade addition along with Mason Miller during the deadline. Randy Vasquez had a 1.11 ERA plus. It was his best year, and his velocity was up. Strikeout to walk, strikeouts in general are very low, but back-end guy. Right now, Matt Waldron's listed there, but they'll pick somebody up. So, AJ, thoughts on the San Diego rotation and the work that they have to do this offseason?
I hope they get a payroll bump, because otherwise it's going to be struggle city. I mean, I know they have free agents, but man, you're talking about losing Dylan Cease, Michael King, Darvish. Yes, I know Musgrove's come back. What do they do with Mason Miller? We forgot Robert Suarez is also gone too. So let's not forget that he's gone. So they're going to have to figure this out on the fly. This is why AJ Preller, Kratz kind of joked earlier that Preller would trade all 30 of his prospects. Don't be surprised if the Padres make some more moves. And I mean, I'm serious. Like you joked about that, but man, I could see this being the year where Preller has to trade everybody. He might be trading guys that he ain't even drafted yet. He's like, well, we have the 20th pick. We're going to draft this guy, so we can trade him too.
Obviously, I'm no good at making trade predictions, but just scan what did the Tigers struggle at last year? And maybe the Tigers, they trade Tarik Skubal, and they're like, you know what, we're just not competing. We're just not going to compete if they trade Tarik Skubal. But if they are saying, okay, we want to compete, what would the Padres have positionally to get Tarik Skubal? Because they need some offense. I know if they lose Tarik Skubal, they need pitching, but maybe they could use that $160 million they offered Alex Bregman last year and get a Ranger Suarez and get a Framber Valdez type of pitcher. Not as good as Tarik Skubal, but kind of a replacement. And maybe you get a big league bat out of that very nice starting lineup that I think has pieces, just not a lot of power pieces from last year.
Should Mason Miller consider going back to being a starter? Remember, he came up as a starter. He's a brilliant reliever. I've asked him on this show about it, and so far he's been like, nah, not really thinking about that. Media pundits, analytics nerds sometimes bring it up. I'm just bringing it up. Here's an article from RJ Anderson on CBS. Darvish's injury hurts Padres' already thin rotation, makes it more likely Mason Miller starts in 2026. AJ, that's a little clickbaity. I wouldn't say more likely. It's not really become a thing yet. AJ Preller hasn't said no, but this is going to be up to Mason Miller. Would you risk this? Miller did have injury issues in the past, and he's been pretty damn durable and top 3 closer in baseball.
I'd be, if I'm Mason Miller, I'd be like, oh, we just lost Robert Suarez. Oh, I can be the closer and I can close save 40 plus games and get extra paid again and make another all-star team. Like, durability was an issue with Mason Miller as a starter. I'd just like to see him stick with what he is and go out and find someone else because, listen, no player, well, I shouldn't say that because we saw with Rafi Devers this year, but most players aren't going to say, if the team comes and says, hey, we want you to be a starter, they're not going to say, no, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. They're going to say, yes, whatever you want. I'm here for the team. But if I'm Mason Miller, I'm like, please don't ask me that question. Just let me stay where I'm at and have the 9th inning and save 40-plus games and go on to next year.
I have to disagree. If I'm Mason Miller, what maximizes your value? As a player, and again, I'm not a pitcher, I never worried about getting hurt. I never was like, should I do this or this in the game because I could get hurt? Now, I get it. It's different as a pitcher, and closers are easily the easiest to stay healthy because they are not worn out like other bullpen guys. So to me, I'm washing away like injury risk as a player. I'm not thinking about that. What gets you the most money? I think Josh Hader signed the largest free agent contract for a reliever. I think he beat Edwin Diaz's contract, and he got just over $100 million. You can name handfuls of starting pitchers that got over $100 million. So to me, his max earning, I mean, we got dudes getting 18 a year as starters that aren't very good starters. Mason Miller, if he sees himself, if he thinks I can be a big league starter because of how I feel, what I've learned in my 2+ years, almost 3 years in the big leagues, yes, I can make the adjustment from what I was before, and I will make, in 2 years. If he takes what he does in the pen over to starting, in 2 years, he could be a nine-figure contract. I don't see that happening if he stays in his current role.
You guys remember Homer Bailey in 2014? Never made an All-Star game. 6 years, 105. That's, I think, still more in net present value than any closer has ever been paid.
Here's the thing about that, though. Yeah, you can say, yeah, I'm not worried about it getting injured. I get that. But they tried this, and it didn't work also. Like, the A's tried this. The A's would have much rather had Mason Miller be a starter. Whether it was control problems, whether it was injuries, whatever it was, they were like, you know what, you're going to be better suited. And I just think for the long term of him, like, is he going to make the same money? Probably not. But is he going to make enough money where he's good? I think so. I mean, and plus, I don't know. I think that if I'm Mason Miller, I'm like, I'm very comfortable in my role. I want to stay where I am. If they ask, he'll probably do it. That's what I'm saying. He's probably going, don't ask. Please just don't ask me.
I'm in between you guys because I don't know if they tried long enough and if it was the right organization to try it with him. Just throwing that out there. And I even stand corrected on myself. One time we asked him, it was more shot down. The last time it was asked on FT was when Lance Lynn was hosting an episode on August 4th. And he said, not right now, but he said there are possibilities of that in the future.
6 starts. Okay. Six big league starts. He had a 3.78 ERA as a big league starter. 38 innings, 16 walks. So the walks were problematic. But again, guys learn. Like, you figure out what your mechanics need to be, how you need to do this to recover. And you look back 2 years. You sometimes even look back 1 year and be like, man, I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that a year ago. It would have really helped me in this situation. So I don't know. If I were his agent, no duh. If I were giving him advice, I would say, how do you feel? How do you recover? He had the thing with the diabetes that he was diagnosed in college, and it really helped him understand his body. So I think he's still on that journey. And I think, if the Padres can turn him into a starter, like that trade that they made to get him, because they have a closer. Jeremiah Estrada can step in as a closer. So they're not afraid of the closer position going down. It's just you're losing 2 elite closers in one season.
I think it's a good topic. Maybe we can ask Mason at some point this offseason if he's been asked, if it's considered, and the questions that Kratz is going over. Coming up next, we continue our offseason to-do list. B is up next alphabetically. We'll go to Boston. Tim Healey joining us. Hey, I've got a quote from Walt Weiss during his press conference yesterday, asked about analytics, probably because he's over 60 and people think he can't grasp them. That's insane. He said, I've evolved with the game. I think if you don't, you're a fool. My philosophy is, why would anybody, especially in a position of leadership, turn their back on information? Alex Anthopoulos has done a great job. His team has done a great job of blending the wisdom that comes from being in uniform for a number of years and the information that's available out to us today and the technology that's available. Some fans, AJ brought up how Hammer territory was a little more critical of this move. I actually spoke to some of the hosts on Hammer, so I gave him our perspective. And I think that's good. That's why we have shows on the FT network that completely disagree with us on topics all across the board. It could be the CBA, it could be manager, player decisions, whatever. We're going one way. They didn't go totally the other way. They were just a little more of like a 5, where I feel like our group was more of like an 8, 9, or 10 on the higher.
I love what he said though. Like you have to evolve. You can't. Nobody stays the same. If you stay the same, then you're losing. Like you have to evolve. You have to change. And if the game changes a certain way, if you want to stick around, you have to make some adjustments. And I think Walt Weiss has done that. He said he's done it. And listen, I mean, I know people that were totally anti-analytics for a long time. And if you don't use the information properly, then you're going to fall behind. So you have to be able to adapt and adjust.
I think the reason the old guys, as they're said, or the guys who are like, I'm against analytics, is they feel like they're experienced. They feel like, and I had this argument with Willie Randolph. He's like, I don't need to hear this stuff. He's like, and he's slowly come around. And I said, how many games have you watched, managed, played, all that stuff? He's like, 5,000. I said, well, what if you had watched 10,000? I was like, would that person know more than you? He's like, well, yeah. I said, well, that's what analytics is. Analytics is all the games put all in there, and it's giving you the information. And just like Walt said, just a little nugget. I'm going to take a little bit here, because one game, one little thing can swing one game, which can swing your entire season.
To me, it's a high floor, high ceiling, higher. I like it. Also, by the way, remember Brent Strom has been a pitching coach in baseball for so many years. He's one of the older pitching coaches. Man, he was frontline analytics way before it was cool. Kratz, you probably know, but man, he was spin rate, fastball up, IVB, all that stuff way back.
He was sticky guy too.
That worked. That was analytics. It is the Red Sox edition of the offseason to-do list, and we bring in our friend Tim Healey. You can see his coverage in the Boston Globe, Red Sox beat writer, also a great follow on Twitter at Tim B. Healey. Tim is funny. I'll say it for him. Tim, great to see you, and let's get to the offseason to-do list. Can you lay out 1, 2, and 3? You have to only give us 3 options, then we'll elaborate from there.
The Red Sox have the work cut out for them, so it's hard to keep it to 3. But number 1 has got to be re-signing Alex Bregman and or figuring out what Alex Bregman's deal is. Absolutely. Big player last year. Important to keep him this offseason. Number 2 is a number 2 starter, right? They have Garrett Crochet. That trade worked out magnificently for them last year. Now if they can slot in someone behind Crochet ahead of a slugger. They need somebody at first base or DH. They need more dingers, honestly. Trevor Story led the team in home runs and RBIs last year, and that's not going to cut it in 2026. So that's number 3.
Okay, well, Tim, I'm going to start with Bregman.
Sure.
No duh. They need to re-sign Alex Bregman. Yeah, because he solidifies the defense on the left side of the infield. Him and Story. He brings the bat in the middle of the order. And the biggest thing that he did from watching the Red Sox from afar, he brought a presence, a calmness, and a confidence to this team that they had sorely been lacking for a few years. So, yeah, this is like the biggest no duh thing. And I get that's why it's number 1. But they absolutely have to do what it takes to sign Alex Bregman.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because they're going to have, I would think, a lot of competition, right? Look around the league. The Tigers always get mentioned for Alex Bregman. The Mariners are sending Suarez into free agency. The Blue Jays probably, I would think, are going to have a lot of money to spend coming off their October run and don't have a long-term answer at third base. The Phillies are going to have a fascinating offseason, and you can see them getting in the mix on this. The Yankees are always a threat. So there are a lot of teams that are really good fits for Alex Bregman. So the question becomes, to me, if Bregman's almost, very likely looking at a 5, 6, maybe 7-year deal, 150, 175, maybe pushing $200 million. is Craig Breslow going to be comfortable getting uncomfortable and doing what it takes to sign Alex Bregman? I'm not 100% sure that he's willing to make that move if that's the territory it gets to. But as we said, it's going to be awfully important because Bregman was important to them this past season.
A couple thoughts here, and then I think Kratz has a thought or two about this as well. First of all, no way the Tigers are going after him again. They felt like it was personal. He turned down the most overall money. That's my take. And with some people behind the scenes, I'm going to throw that out there. I think they were quite pissed off, and they felt like the message was sent that Detroit was not for him. And they are like, thank you very much. We're not going to help to drive up your price this offseason. Just throwing that out there. And then also, I wonder if we have owner John Henry or somebody else involved, Theo Epstein and friends, that say, hey, Craig, this might not check out on your end at this price, but we still want him back. Alex Cora has more influence as a manager than almost any other manager in terms of front office moves. Your thoughts on all of that?
I agree. I think any move at this level, ownership's going to be involved. John Henry, Theo, Alex Cora obviously has the Bregman connection and will stump for Alex Bregman among his other guys. So Alex Cora is not afraid to make his voice heard in decisions such as these. So yes, when we talk about Craig Breslow and his decision making and his philosophies and getting uncomfortable, it won't be strictly a Craig Breslow discussion and conversation. Totally agreed with that.
I had mentioned it yesterday to Jim Bowden that free agency is a lot about risk and don't know about his history. How's he going to fit into the clubhouse? Check, check, and check. So this has to be the most slam dunk for everybody because Craig Breslow doesn't want to be like, I'm the guy that gave Bregman a deal. How could you do that? You saw what he did the year before. It's almost like, how could you not do that because you saw what he did with these young guys, with his production and the fact that he's built for Fenway.
Yeah, he checks all of the boxes. At this time last year, Alex Bregman looked like he checked all of the boxes and was exactly what they needed. And then they flirted. It was going to happen, not going to happen. And it finally happened in February, right? Spring training was getting going. And then it worked out great. And yes, Bregman had the injury, and he's 32 years old now, I believe. And his second half wasn't that good at the plate, honestly. So, sure, I can see some hesitations there. But the fit, which looked great, actually is great. And he was the day one leader of the team as soon as he walked in the room. So losing him would set you way back in an offseason where you should be taking a big step forward.
I'm going to kind of hit two parts here. You said a number 2 starter. First, I want to know, are they getting a second starter to go behind Garrett Crochet? Or do you think they are going to get an actual number 2 starter, somebody who's not even in the number 1 type of category? And doesn't that mean when you add in a number 2 type of starter to this abysmal defense that it becomes more of a number 3 type of starter? Wouldn't they be more suited to, add that ace and then figure out their defense also?
Yes, there's a lot going on there. But when I say they should add a number 2 starter, I mean somebody who will be their number 2, not, a traditional quote unquote or sort of more middling number 2 starter. Garrett Crochet is, one of the top 3, at worst top 5 pitchers in baseball. So there's almost nobody available who will slot in ahead of Crochet. But if you can get a co-ace or really the Kurt Schilling to the Pedro Martinez, then you're starting to cook with gas in 2026. And that's what I mean when I say number 2 starter. As far as the defense, there's a lot to figure out, especially on the infield. But their outfield defense was amazing. And their catching defense, Narvaez, was very good. Connor Wong was better than the year before. So when you look at Trevor Story up the middle, Marcelo Meyer playing second or third base, I would think at this point, the defense should be pretty good next year. But there are a lot of question marks to figure out there infield-wise.
All right, and then the third one you mentioned is out of slugger, first base DH. Pete Alonso's on the market. I'm just saying, and all the time when you talk to Alex Cora, what does he say they need? Right-handed power. Alex Bregman, right-handed power. Pete Alonso, right-handed power, because they got a lot of lefties, right? Roman Anthony and the whole crew. But Bregman and Alonso would look nice. I mean, someone like that. So who's a possibility, and will they spend? Because kind of in the John Henry post-2018 world, post-Mookie Betts, Heimblum, they don't really want to spend on these guys. Instead, they look for internal or cheaper options. Will they actually spend and go get the power they need?
That's a great question. And because they haven't spent for more than a half decade now, at least not among the elite spending teams, it's going to be a question until they prove otherwise. So I would think, it's all connected, right? The Bregman question, the first base DH question. If you bring back Bregman, I kind of feel like that $30 million AAV is already baked into the 2026, 2027 projections because you had him for theoretically that 3-year deal. And when you were looking at, where your payroll is going to be in the coming seasons, you had him penciled in for that number. Adding another big 9-figure contract on top of that is maybe a big ask for the Red Sox of recent years, but I think they can swing it, especially if, they don't have Giolito making $22 million a year on the qualifying offer. We'll see what happens there. That would sort of be a lot. But, yeah, you mentioned Pete Alonso. He is the number one choice, I'd say. I think he's exactly what they need. The right-handed bat, plays first base, can DH as much as you want him to, basically. You can move some other guys around those positions as merited, but him playing basically every day, which is something that he does better than almost anybody else in his career, and pencil him in for 35, 40 home runs, 100 to 120 RBIs. That's exactly what this Red Sox team needs because, yes, Alex Cora talks about it all the time. The right-handed bat, the right-handed power. Bregman was supposed to be that and was that to a degree. But in terms of offensive production, Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso are on different levels. The other guy who gets mentioned is Kyle Schwarber. He's a lefty, obviously, so it's not quite the same. He's a little older. Maybe his contract will be shorter. And Alex Cora is quite openly a big fan of Kyle Schwarber because of his 3 months with the Red Sox in 2021. That affection remains strong, so it wouldn't surprise me to see strong interest there. But I think Pete Alonso is a better fit because of the righty stuff.
And you said the 9-figure contracts. They got rid of one. So if they don't sign another non-figure contract, I'm not saying Bregman's included in that. Yep. I'm saying Bregman and someone else. I think Red Sox fans, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Red Sox fans would look at it and go, so that was just a salary dump? We were just trying to dump the Rafi Devers salary, which would not be a good look, especially after clawing to the playoffs with a younger team this year.
Yes, they, in theory, should have that financial wiggle room to maximize. And on top of that, forget the money. They never replaced Rafael Devers, the hitter, at the trade deadline. Didn't add anybody to the lineup besides Nathaniel Lowe in August, and that was fleeting. So, in a sense, Alonso or Schwarber would replace Devers. And that's something, that big bat hole remains a very big hole. So, like we said at the outset, the Red Sox have a lot of work cut out for them the next few months.
All right. How about a trade piece? I want to look at your team and say, okay, does Jarren Duran fit into this future? Obviously, he lost his center field position this year to Gold Glover, Cedar Rafaela. Does a trade of Jarren Duran seem likely to add some of these holes that you say they need to fill?
I think a trade of an outfielder is very likely. And if you look at the outfielders the Red Sox have, Jarren Duran kind of feels like the odd man out more than the other guys. And it will depend on once the Red Sox start talking to other teams, who teams like and what they're willing to give up. And that will shape a lot of this because the Red Sox like Jarren Duran and they'd be happy to keep Jarren Duran if they can make the roster and the outfield work. So if some team wants to blow them out of the water for Wilyer or Abreu, sure, Roman Anthony can go play right field. But if somebody wants Jarren Duran, then Roman Anthony will play left. The wild card here is Rafaela, who is amazing at center field, really streaky at the plate. So I don't think they'll trade Rafaela because as an elite defender alone, his contract is really team friendly. So, I think they'll keep Rafaela. I can't completely rule out that he's the one traded, but, with going with Roman Anthony, Ceddanne Rafaela, and then one of Duran and Abreu, that's a pretty good outfield.
Hey, how far behind are the Red Sox? I mean, we saw the Yankees were in the World Series 2 years ago. The Blue Jays were in the World Series this year. How far behind are they, and how much do you think in one offseason they can make that jump? Because from what you're giving us, they need a lot of help.
They do need a lot of help. But I honestly think they can play in that top tier in 2026 if they make these additions, right? This year, for example, the standings were what they were. The Red Sox were not the best team in the division, but I don't know that the Yankees were that scary. And the Blue Jays, ran the division the whole second half and then made it to Game 7 of the World Series, so they deserve a ton of credit. But are they going to be that again in 2026? I don't really know. So I think the AL East is not necessarily there for the taking, but the Red Sox are in prime position to make it awfully interesting, especially with the right offseason moves.
Tim, last one for you, and this is more of a coach and front office look at what's been going on with the ball club. We have given them a ton of flowers for how they've developed some really great prospects, right? No secret. Talking about Anthony, talking about Meyer, etc. How much of a hit do you think it will be to the front office to lose someone like Paul Taboni, who's now going to run the front office for the Nationals? It sounded like he was basically the slam dunk to be the guy under Greg Breslow for the long term, and he chose to lead his own front office. And if you want to mix this into, I'm forgetting the name on the fly here, but the new pitching coach for the Mets that came over from the Boston side too. So it sounds like people and teams and orgs are starting to pluck away from them. Of course, Chaim Bloom's been gone for the last few years too. They let him go, but he had a big say in who they drafted, and that was a big deal for them too.
Losing Paul Taboni is a big deal for the Red Sox, and it's an even bigger deal when you zoom out a little bit and look at the other highly regarded employees they've lost front office-wise over the past really month, right? Taboni was going to be the GM. He is a guy who went from intern to assistant GM in less than a decade, which is very fast in baseball, as you guys know, and was basically sort of a right-hand man, inner circle kind of guy for Craig Breslow, who apparently keeps sort of a pretty small inner circle. So he went to the Nationals. He's running the show. He brought with him 2 Red Sox employees they really liked. Devin Pearson was director of amateur scouting. He's now an assistant GM under Taboni. Andrew Wright was the field coordinator and player development for the Red Sox. Now he's a special assistant kind of guy with the Nationals. Justin Willard, who you mentioned, director of pitching for the Red Sox the last 2 years, one of Craig Breslow's first hires around this time 2 years ago, was a big part of building that pitching pipeline that has yielded Peyton Tolley, Connolly Early, and some others who are on the way. He's gone. Now he's going to be, it's not official yet, but sounds like the pitching coach for the Mets. So these are all big losses. It all matters. They lost their AA hitting coach to the Marlins, to the major league staff. So it's interesting because, if all these guys are leaving for promotions by teams that are, they're not exactly model franchises, but they're franchises that are, in theory, on the upswing and trying to do things a smarter, more advanced and modern way, then it's sort of a compliment to the Red Sox that teams want to hire away their guys. But it nonetheless is a little bit of a brain drain. And, as much as we've talked about them having their work cut out for them to build the 2026 roster, simultaneously, and especially throughout October, they've been doing plenty of interviews and hiring searches for all of these roles, which are important roles, even if they're out of the public view.
Good stuff. Yeah, great one to finish with. Tim, we'll be talking in the off season. And congrats to you again. I know it's been several months now, but nice smooth transition. I'm following you for Boston Red Sox coverage in the Boston Globe. AJ, was that something good to you on the
So
way?
Adam Ottavino would go right off the field and be a GM, and then you have to worry about all this stuff. I mean, that's why when we talked about that yesterday, that was, I mean, not that he couldn't do it, but it would be a lot to just jump right into. So thanks, Tim.
He's a smart guy. He can do whatever he wants, I think, but that would be a big and fast jump.
Yeah, big time. Tim, good stuff, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kirby Yates coming to a music festival near you. I was unaware of his game. The man likes to party. We are looking at a very specific picture of his butt cheek. We are zoomed in, so we are clean enough here for YouTube. But that is Kirby holding up a World Series trophy. Kike Hernandez posted it pretty late at night. I think they were enjoying themselves, but this really happened. Apparently, Kirby Yates said if he ever won a World Series, he would get Kirby on his ass with the chip. Love it. Well, love a man of his word.
Somebody that had a bet like this not long ago, I feel his pain. And I'm just happy I didn't have to come through with it. So good for him. And is that Kirby? Is that what that little guy is? That little
yeah, it's guy? Kirby. Yeah. Kike Hernandez talked about it on a late night show the other day. He was like, yeah, Kirby from Super Smash. I'm like, well, Kirby's actually his own dude who had his own video games and stuff, but Kike's young. But yeah, that is Kirby. I think it's a great tat. I think the art's awesome. It's fun. If you're going to get one for winning a chip and you're going to put it on your ass, I mean, Kirby with a trophy.
Do you guys remember the name Billy Koch?
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
Billy Koch, the closer, he bet somebody that they wouldn't get I Heart Billy Koch on his butt cheek in spring training. Next day, dude showed up. He gave him $1,000 and $500 because he said, your wife's going to have to look at my name the rest of your life.
That's it? He sold his ass for $1,500?
Yep. This player had a lot of tattoos, so.
Oh, okay.
It was just.
Listen, I dyed my hair blonde for $2,500, so we'll do anything for money. Not anything, but
that
a lot of stuff
is not permanent. Tattoos are kind of forever. I loved that.
Or bobbleheads.
How much would it take for you to tattoo a name on your ass?
We're going to have to get into a lot more than $1,500.
It's probably way less for me than it is for AJ. How about that?
I don't have. Kratz has tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, so it's going to be a lot. I made a bet. I survived that bet, and I learned my lesson, kids. Don't make bets your ass doesn't want to cash.
Literally. Literally.
Hey, I love these stories, and I'm excited that we get to talk to Foster Griffin as free agency is just beginning. He has been starring out in Japan, and he's back. Not officially, but he will be back. Foster, you are a hot topic right now. Great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. And are you excited to be back in MLB soon?
100%. 100%. I had, kind of a second shot, a second chance, if you will, at my career to go over to Japan, and I spent 3 years there, 3 great years, and had an unbelievable experience, an unbelievable time with the Giants, and I'll be forever grateful for that experience. But I'm definitely ready to see the things that I've done over there and changed to see how that matches up over here.
Can you tell us more about your story? I always like when someone like you can intro it first, and then we'll have tons of follow-ups. But your story,
Okay.
both from a journey perspective and then also some of the changes that you've made. I always look at these interviews. These are big, Foster, where we're talking now, and then all of a sudden we could be talking about you in October in a big playoff situation. We've seen many stories just like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not your typical, journey through the minor leagues, I would say. Kind of a slower than most, I guess. It took a while to get to the big leagues, and then once I got to the big leagues, I tore my UCL in my debut. So that was kind of heartbreaking. And then worked my way back from that, and got back to the big leagues. But then from there, I was kind of just your typical 4A player in a way, bouncing up and down a bunch as a reliever. But someone's always watching, as we always hear. And during that year in 2022, as I was bouncing up and down, I guess had some Japan teams looking at me, and the Giants were watching over in Japan. And the big thing for me is they wanted me to come back and be a starter over there. So that really raised some eyebrows for me, that's something that I really wanted to do. And then was able to go and kind of reestablish myself as a starter and really relearn how to be a starter. And I think that was massive for me, and was able to really, buy into everything there, and have some success.
Foster, I got a question for you. Maybe this. Were you invited to big league camp in 2015 with the Royals?
No, I was not.
Were you up there at all?
Yeah, you're testing my memory. I don't
Okay.
think so, because that would have been my first spring training, because I got drafted in 2014 at a high school. I don't think that would have happened for me, to be honest.
Okay. When I started looking you up and stuff, when I found out you were going to be on the show, I was like, man, I feel like you were over in that like section where they keep all the young guys in camp that year, but maybe you
I
just
was
have
on
a
field
normal
6.
picture.
You never saw me. I was on field 6.
You were way out there. You were the long walk
Yeah.
through the stones.
Yeah.
All right, then I want to go to your debut. I don't think we've asked anybody this. Maybe we have on the show, but you debuted in COVID. I always said, not talking about your injury or anything, debuting in COVID was either the hardest or the easiest debut for people, because you went from minor league games where there wasn't that many, depending on where you played, to zero fans. So you're like, okay, a lot less pressure, but nobody got to come and experience it. So what was that experience like for you as we move then on into your big league career?
I would say I didn't have a whole lot of experience like you guys were talking about, like pitching in front of big crowds or big games or anything like that. So I think it was easier in a sense, to where there's nobody there. You had expanded rosters that, for the while. So it was a little bit easier, I guess, mentally, and not as like maybe hyped up. Although on the other end of that, it's a 60-game season, so there's like a real push, like, hey, there's a lot of these teams that could maybe make a run and sneak their way into the playoffs. So there was that pressure of going out there and treating every game of like, hey, we really got to win this game. But like I said, that was pretty short lived for me, because I debuted, and then my elbow wasn't cooperating and had to get surgery. So that kind of was short lived. But to answer your question, I would say it was probably a little bit easier in the grand scheme of things.
As someone that went to Japan, you were there for 3 years. Do you speak Japanese now? Are you multilingual, bilingual now?
I know a little bit. I can have little conversations. I understand a lot more than I can speak. It got to the point to where, pitcher meetings and stuff like that, I could understand what was being said. Now, if they asked me to then reiterate exactly what they said and speak it in Japanese, I don't know if I could do that. But I got to the point to where even my translator was noticing that I was kind of picking up on conversations and stuff.
How hard is that? How hard is that? Because we see Shohei and we see Yamamoto and Sasaki, and before that Ichiro and Matsui, and all these guys come over. So you went over there. How hard is it for you that, grew up in Florida, went to the first academy? We're going to get to that. Don't worry. And then
Okay.
you want to go to Japan, to a place where you don't know the culture, you don't know the language. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you have to play baseball and perform.
Yeah, that part's very difficult. I think it's harder than a lot of people realize. And I think it might bring to light a little bit of how hard it is for some of these Japanese guys that come here and perform well. It's definitely it's completely different. You know, you're going there. Yes, you have a translator, but once you get into the game, like your translator is not by your side on the mound, so you're kind of having to figure things out on the go and by yourself. But I kind of went into it with an open mind. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and immerse myself in the culture a little bit, learn how the baseball is different and how can I adapt to that to make myself better. How can I, converse with my teammates in any way? Because as you guys know, with Latino guys here in the states as well, there's baseball is kind of a universal language, and I think that transpires over there as well. So you kind of get to know how to speak the baseball lingo, I guess, in a way, even Japanese. So I was able to kind of really immerse myself into the culture that way, into the baseball culture specifically. And I just kind of wanted to learn as much as possible while I was there.
All right. You said yourself, you kind of got into that 4A player type of role. You went over there and you had success. What's the talent like over there? What would you equate? People ask me this all the time. I only went for 2 weeks in like exhibition type games. What's the talent like over there? Where would you equate it? Is it a 4A level?
Such a hard question. I get asked all the time. Simply, yes, I would say it's a 4A, but it's also different. So their lineup construction, the way I would translate it, is more old school baseball. Okay, your first couple hitters are probably going to be most likely left-handed and most likely speed, center field, shortstop, second baseman, contact, get the guy over, not going to strike out a lot. Now your 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on the team, might fall to 7, are going to be your RBI, have some power, have some pop. And then your 8, 9 guys are going to be probably your defensive specialists, also contact guys that aren't going to strike out, but also can play many positions as they still have, after next year, they're not going to have it, but in one of the leagues, they still have the pitchers hit. So they do some double switches and guys that are more versatile when it comes to playing different positions. They have those kind of guys laid out there in the 8, 7, 8, 9 spots. So the lineup construction, I would say, is not to repeat myself, but more old school baseball, as I would say. And that's kind of where I would say it's a little bit different. And that's kind of as a starter where I kind of learned to navigate through lineups a little bit and kind of have my cues of where I'm at in the lineup. Are they about to do a pinch hitter? Are they about to do a double switch? And kind of have that little bit of extra knowledge.
Foster, we've seen guys come over recently that go over to Japan and come back and they get nice contracts. What's your expectations for free agency, and what are you looking for? And would you, like, let's say that you don't get a deal here, do you have the ability, because I don't know how this works, do you have the ability to still go back to Japan and pitch again? Or once you say, hey, I want to be back to the MLB, then you lose that right? Because honestly, I don't even know how it works.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think right now I'm a free agent, and that's an international free agent. So I have the ability, I think, to sign over here as well as entertain any offers that would come from any Japan team as well.
That's great. So
What was better?
Yeah, I was going to say, which one was better?
I mean, I I think for me, it was never like, I think for some guys, they really want to go to Japan, play a year, come back and get their deal, right? For me, that I put that so far back in my mind because I really felt like I said earlier, I got a second chance at baseball. And I was able to kind of make a mini career out of it, if you will, in Japan. And I changed so much, and I feel like I grew so much as a pitcher that at this point in time, if the opportunity came about, I'd like to really test what I did and how much those changes improved me, because I feel like they really did, and see how that plays out here at the big league level, because I really think I can do it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. But like I said before, I'm technically an international free agent. So if an opportunity weren't to come, which I hope it does, but Japan would still be open.
What did you change? What's the one singular thing that was the biggest change for you, besides the fact you probably came back with like 9 pitches? So the catcher's back there hitting all the buttons. Beep, boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, I definitely added some pitches, and I would say that's probably the biggest thing for me. One thing is I moved on the rubber. I moved all the way to the first base side, so a little bit of crossfire for lefties. And then I added a splitter, which everyone throws over there. I feel like if you go over there as a pitcher, that's probably one thing you're gonna see is all these guys getting swing and miss and so many ground balls on these splitters and fork balls, as you guys have seen probably in the playoffs. And then I added a sweeper, which I threw a sweeper when I got traded over to the Blue Jays. And I didn't really refine it. And then once I got there, I really kind of found a grip and found a cue that really helped me. And I started getting a lot more swing and miss to lefties, both on the splitter, because I didn't throw my changeup to lefties. So that added an extra wrinkle to left-handers. And then so I was able, and then as well as the sweeper, I was able to really command it. So I was able to throw it backdoor to righties, which expanded the plate on the other side, and then moving away from a lefty with the sweeper.
All right. So you mentioned grips and you mentioned this and that, but Japan has a tacky baseball. Should the U.S. find a way to have a tacky baseball? And can you replicate that grip and that movement with a U.S. baseball or Major League Baseball because it's just a different ball with different seams and different grips on it?
It is, but I think you have seen enough guys from Japan come over here and still utilize it very well. So I don't think and for most all of the offseason except my bullpens, because I play catch with other guys that are here in the big leagues, I play catch with a big league ball. And then before I head to Japan for my bullpens only, I'll use the Japan ball that they give us, or the Japanese ball. But I don't think that would be an issue, just because one, I played here for so long, and they implemented the big league balls into AAA. I think that was 2019. So I pitched with those for a while. But to reiterate, I don't think that would be an issue. Do I think they should add it? I know there's a lot of talk about it. I feel like Major League Baseball could come up with a way to do it safely. Just it all comes prepackaged. The ball is in a package, and then you tear it open and it's ready to go. There's no rubbing, there's no mud, there's nothing they got to do to it. It's pretty universal, I would say, throughout the whole league. But I don't know. I'm not on the committee to give any more than that onto it.
All right. Well, now it's time to dig into the real crux of the problem. All right. So I don't know if you can see this or not.
So I got a funny story about you and TFA to begin with.
Okay. First of all, I've never seen you at TFA ever.
I know.
And I was there for years as a coach, and you never showed up one time, nor have you ever donated any money. You're the Erik Kratz of the First Academy. Has never donated a cent. I don't understand.
Well, so I don't know what year did your kids start going to TFA? 2012?
My kids have been there since they started in pre-K, so they went all the way through. My kids went all the way through.
Okay. So the story I have on that is, I think it was 2012, because I think I was a sophomore. Did you just leave the White Sox at the time, or where were you at in your career at that point?
2012 was my last year with the White Sox.
Okay, then this adds up. So we're just about to start our season, and we're in the locker room, and our coach comes in with about 4 boxes, big boxes, and he just drops them in the locker room, and they're all black and white custom AJ Pierzynski Nike cleats, boxes full of them. And what size cleats did you wear?
12.
Okay, so I was 11. I wear 11 still. And I played in I played in your cleats for 2012, 2013, 2014, the last 3 years of my high school career. And they were definitely too big. I definitely shouldn't have played in them, but I thought that was the coolest thing ever, that, there was like 3 of us that were rocking your cleats for that time period, that were probably all too big, but that was your generous donation, I guess.
Thank you.
to us. And I always remember that because I don't know if I still have a pair at my parents' house still in Orlando, but yeah, I remembered that vividly, that boxes of cleats being dropped off, and then I played in those for the rest of my high school
Nice.
career.
So hopefully you and Adam Hazley also won, because that would be two
Hazley
of the
did.
three.
I think Hazley
See,
was
so that's
Hazley
two.
was rocking them as well.
And I've seen Hazley around, so I mean, I don't know. Maybe my cleats is fitting better. I don't know, but I've seen Hazley come to games, support the boys, right? But what I want to know is, 2021, my son's in 8th grade, state champs, right? So just in case you're wondering, I got another one here from 2025 where we won again. So sorry about it.
Yeah, we always fell short.
Yeah,
thanks for rubbing that in.
That's my question. You guys had 2 first rounders, 2.
And Ben DeLuzio.
Ben DeLuzio. Well. Yeah, so 3 big leaguers on your team, and you guys couldn't win. Was it coaching? Was it pressure? Was it Will Cohen? What was it?
There was a time I remember our best year talent-wise, I think, was my junior year because Ben was still there. Ben was a senior. And I remember I could be totally wrong on this, but I remember we were in that weird scenario of like, okay, we're winning this game. I started, we were winning this game, but he took me out after 4 because on pitch count, he could maybe save me for like the later round, in like for the playoffs, if that makes sense. So he took me out, and then I don't remember what team it was, but they ended up coming back and we ended up losing that game. So that kind of stuck with us a little bit of like, we should have just, we got to win this game to move on. But then when we tried to kind of save pitching and play looking forward, we ended up losing that game and got knocked out. But our senior year, we didn't win the state championship, but we did win the NHSI. We won the national tournament.
I mean, does
that not mean anything?
That's a loose national championship. You weren't like
you should go look at the teams.
National champion.
Go look at the talent. Go look at the teams and the talent and the guys that got drafted out of that team.
You did have 2 first rounders on that team and another guy that played in the big leagues. And Kyle Cano, who was a scout for the Astros too. So you had a bunch of guys.
Dylan Cease 1-0, but it's not a big deal. Who else? Who else was in there? There's a lot of Michael Chase. There's a lot of good guys in there.
Oh, I heard all about
NHSI.
I heard all about this team until 2021, and then we actually got it done.
Fair enough. You have that.
And then in 2025, we got it done again. So I mean, I'm sorry.
I think you guys dropped a couple classifications. If I'm going to really argue here, but we won't
3A.
do all that.
3A.
Was it? Is it still 3A? Okay, then I'd stand.
No, now we're 2A because
but there it is.
The team we beat in the state final was ranked 2 in the country, and I think TFA finished 7 or 8 in the country. So you can't say, "Oh, we walked our way." TFA walked their way through. The finals they beat the team that was ranked, I think, 2 or 3 in the country. So
fair enough.
And they hammered.
Oh, don't get me started on the high school baseball rankings nationally.
I know.
Don't get me started. But this was wonderful, especially the last few minutes. But in all seriousness, this was great. Hope you enjoyed
Foster,
it.
you should come out there.
Great to have you on.
Foster, you should come out there.
I'm in Tampa now. I don't make
There's
my
a
way
new
to
locker
Orlando too
room.
often, but
there's a turf. There's a new locker room. There's indoor cages. I mean, you should make an appearance. The kids would love to see you.
Funny story. My dad was at a local YMCA. Real quick, I don't know how much time I have, but my dad was at a local YMCA not that long ago, and I think they may have been baseball players, but they were wearing the First Academy shirts, and I think they did play baseball. My dad was like, "Oh, like, are you guys playing baseball there?" And he's like, "Yeah." And my dad was like, well, my son played there actually, and a while ago, and they were like, "Well, what's his name?" And he told me my name, and both of them were like, "I have no idea who that is." So I don't know how much the kids were actually recognize or even know who I am. So, but nonetheless, here we go.
Not yet.
Foster, they will know. Exactly. Yes, they will know. They will see your name pop up for a nice off-season deal, and then they will see you in the bigs next year. This was great, man. Don't be a stranger. You got a great personality. Great to have you on here. Good luck in the free agency process. And how about this? We'll talk to you after that plays out. Deal?
Sounds great. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. See you guys.
Be right back. We're going right to it. Mookie Betts on TikTok posting Freddie Freeman do the worm. Grade it, guys. 1 to 10. How is his worm at the party?
10.
Pretty good. Freddie loves
12.
to dance. Don't let him fool you.
He's good.
Don't let him. But I want to know
That's
is
a 10.
does Mookie Betts always have that logo on his floor, or is that something he just puts down for the parties they have every year?
I mean,
Well, it says 2025, so I'm hoping that it just got made nice and quick. Mookie's rich, and he throws good parties, and he's fun. So he goes all out. Basically, as far as I know, AJ, he's got party planning people, and he lets them know, hey, there's a chance we're going to win a World Series. You're going to have to build a wedding in a day, right? So be prepared for it.
They can do
Hey,
it.
if you got enough cash, anything can be done. So props to them. I liked the setup there from Freddie, not just the worm itself. The worm execution was, even the Russian judge in the Olympics would give that top grades. But I liked the setup there too. There was like a little bit of intrigue
little
there.
stanky leg going into it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's good.
that whole setup, boys know how to party. Mookie's not getting on the grill. I appreciate you laying that out for us, Scott. That Mookie's not out there. Well, I'll go get a sub platter on my way back from the field so that the team can have snacks. I know Freddie's gluten-free, so we'll get him some gluten-free chips too. No, I mean they got people, they got lights. He comes in, that party's ready and popping. But Max said it. That spread looked incredible too. If you look behind him, like you're looking out over a city. I don't think Mookie's he's not living in the woods. Let's put it that way.
No, he's got a good spot. Hey, real talk. I don't know if we should do a segment on this at some point, but is Freddie Freeman more known as a Dodger?
Yes. At this point, yes. At this point, yes. At this point, yes. He's got 2 World Series rings. And people, I mean, listen, people, where have you done for me lately? You haven't, and that's a shame because Freddie was a great Brave. Good teammate of mine. Great teammate of mine. But now he's looked at as a Dodger because he's won 2 there. It's like Justin Verlander. Do people remember Justin Verlander with the Tigers or the Astros where he won?
Wow. In the weeds, we covered this topic with Ken Rosenthal. So if you want more from Ken, you can check out that clip or that segment. But we are going to touch on this ourselves. The most surprising opt-in is Shane Bieber. A couple days after the World Series, he decides, I'll take that $16 million player option instead of the $4 million to buy out. So that means if he had gotten $12 million on the free agent market, he would have been richer. He's also signing back with a team that's going to take the biggest hit from a tax perspective. That's a real thing, as we always talk about in the off seasons. AJ, how shocked were you that Shane Bieber opted to not hit free agency and do this instead? There are some that thought he would get significant money. Tim Britton does a whole deal on The Athletic and said 3 years, 60-something mil if he was in the free agent market. That doesn't mean he's right, but that's a big difference between 63 million and 16.
Yeah, but he's happy there. You kind of hit on a little bit. Maybe he likes the medical staff there. Maybe he likes his wife is happy there. Just listen, guys make decisions for all different reasons. It's not always, I know everyone says it's always about the money. It's really not. Sometimes it's about happiness. Shane Bieber's made a lot of money. Maybe he just is happy in Toronto. He likes the trainer. He likes the clubhouse guy. He likes the food. He likes the city. I don't know, but he's happy there. He wants to try to run it back. And all you heard from these Toronto guys was how much they loved each other. So I can't fault a guy for wanting to stay somewhere. Like Jack Flaherty, I can't fault him. He likes it there. He's happy. Good for you.
I got to follow.
Go be happy.
Question. What if he had contacted the Blue Jays and said, hey, let's try and make something work, either short-term or long-term, before I even hit free agency? I liked it that much. That gives leverage back to the organization. They're going to get a, quote, discount compared to the market. Why do you think he jumped it so quickly? He was that excited coming off what he was. I know what you're saying, AJ. I'm just curious. Like, why doesn't a team reach out? Like his team reach out and say, hey, we loved this so much. Let's try and work something out, whether it's 1 year deal or
Maybe that's
beyond.
coming. Maybe that's in the works. Maybe that's in the works, and he had to make a decision now. Maybe they do like Salvador Perez does, and he signs a 2-year deal down the road, right? Maybe that's in. We don't know, but I know this is you have 7 days after the World Series ends to make a decision as a player, opt in or opt out in clubs. I mean, the World Series ended on Saturday. You don't have a lot of time to make a decision and try to negotiate a new deal. So maybe they came to an agreement and said, hey, I'll take this 1-year deal if you guys pick me up for another year or two down the road. We don't know that. It could happen.
I feel like there's something else that we don't know about this. Like just that he enjoyed his time. That's awesome. But I mean, guys spend a lot of time to try to get to free agency. They try really hard. He wouldn't have gotten a qualifying offer after this season. He technically would get a qualifying offer if he becomes a free agent. I feel like there's something more that could come out of this.
That's a good point on the qualifying offer, and that is a significant hamper on pitchers like him. Now, he does get to pitch a full season if healthy and show his value and then hit the free agent market again. But the biggest punishment in free agency is age. So you're racking up another year before you're hitting free agency. And I would say this is a okay free agent class. This is not like wow, there's just aces left and right. This is one that he probably could have capitalized on. And AJ, I think the starting pitcher was valued a little bit more this postseason, and this is a copycat league, and teams would have been like, starters are pretty important.
Yeah. There's more to it. We don't know, Scott. He made his decision. But let's not criticize the guy for making the decision that he had the opportunity to make, and he made the decision that he felt was best for him and his family. So congrats, Shane.
It's rare that people leave $50 million on the table. That's rare. If you're thinking
we don't know that. We don't know that he could have got $50 million more. I mean, we don't know that.
With no qualifying offer, he's 30 years old, coming off the year that he did. Everybody knows that Tommy John's, 6 years. You get 6 years after your Tommy John, so it's not like this next contract would be in it. So I think it's commendable to him. And eventually I hope we get to ask him about it, and maybe the more information will come out, just because 50 million's a lot. When you're talking like 500 to 550 million, it's when you're talking 16 to 66 million, that's significant.
Yeah. Not criticizing, just pointing out, as we do on this show, that it was a surprise. It was a surprise to many. That was big news. And I think it's important to cap it off this way, since we do have a large Canadian audience. This is a banger move for the Blue Jays. This is huge for them. They gave up a pretty decent prospect for Shane Bieber at the trade deadline. Clearly that was worth it based on the postseason run. And guess what? Now it's even more worth it, because you didn't know what was going to happen, but you anticipated that if he showed health and effectiveness, he was going to hit the free agent market. You just got even more value out of that trade, and you secured one of your starting pitching spots in the rotation for next year. Huge news for the Blue Jays. They're going to do the best they can to bring back as much of that group as possible. Many of them are already locked up. There's not that many, but this was one of the question marks. Boom, Bieber's back. Coming up next, another dude who is staying with his team for a little bit longer. We'll get to Salvador Perez. We check out BetMGM Futures, and we'll do it with a tweet first. This news just came in. The Braves had let go of some of their coaching staff. Freddie Gonzalez, Tom Goodwin, Rick Kranitz. Jeremy Hefner is going to be the new pitching coach, going from the Mets to the Braves. Guess who the first base coach is going to be? Antoine Richardson, going from the Mets to the Braves. And also, not the same connection, but still, Troy Snitker, who is Brian's son, a regarded hitting coach, is now over at the hitting situation with the Mets. I don't know if he's what the title is, but he's among the mix there too. So we have a lot of incest, Braves and Mets action. That's not the right word.
That's not incest.
No.
That's not incest.
What's the word? Poaching?
Yes.
Poaching?
I mean,
it's not even poaching though, because they were like,
times.
Yeah.
Nepotism. Nepotism is the word you're looking for. Nepotism is where you hire people because they have a name. You give people jobs because they have a name.
I think you're thinking of amphibious. You're way off.
I think our grammar is on point. What do you think, though? I think it's a great move for Atlanta if they're going to replace who they had, AJ. I'm a fan of Hefner. I think he got a raw deal this past season based on what he was given to work with. You know, you can't make.
He's been good though in the past. He's been really good. So I don't mind this move at all for the Braves. I mean, Rick Kratz was there forever, and now he's gone. They needed someone with some experience. They went out and got. But my question is, how much did Walt Weiss have in these hirings? Because they obviously got these done really fast after hiring him. So how much say did he have in the hirings? That's kind of the next question that needs to be asked, right? Was he the one behind the scenes saying, "Hey, I really like, Jeremy Hefner. I really like Antoine Richardson," and so where was he at? But I mean, I like these hirings. They're experienced and they know what they're doing.
Braves saw the Mets running this year. Hey, Antoine Richardson got Juan Soto past 30 stolen bases. I'm telling you, he had something going there over at first base that was working. Mets stole much more than their sprint speed said they should.
Antoine, he gets it. He understands. There's a few first base coaches that put all the other ones to shame.
Yep. Hey, real quick, BetMGM players, get yourself a no sweat token to apply to any bet on pro football. You're crying. Baseball season's not here. To use the token for pro football, add a bet to your bet or add an event from pro football to your bet slip. Activate the token. Get bonus bets if the bet that was made with those bonus tokens loses. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hot corner. Salvy's back. We knew that they had a club option for him, talking about Salvador Perez for the Kansas City Royals, who plan on contending next year. But then they also tack on another year. I mean, I was looking back, Kratz. So I'll give you the details on this one first, and then you'll enjoy the trivia question that I have for you guys. But he signs a 2-year, $25 million contract for 2026 and 2027. He had a $13.5 million club option. So it's a little bit less in 26 to add a whole nother year in 27 for his ages 36 and 37 seasons. Seems like a very fair situation. Do either of you guys remember what his first contract was with Kansas City? Not like, oh, the league minimum. I'm saying the first one that he signed. Anyone remember what the initial number was in
like
years and
6
guarantee?
years, 20 million or something. It wasn't. It was nothing.
It was 13 and a half, wasn't it?
So it was 5 years, $7 million with 3 club options totaling $14.75 million.
Yep.
In baseball terms, that's not, and you would think, oh, what was that, 1992? No, it was 2012.
Yeah, but he had just come up, right? When he signed it, he was super young.
Yeah, it was early. So you're including, I get it. You're including the league minimum years, the ARB years still. You don't hear of anything that low. We hadn't back then.
Back then, I'll fight you on this one. I think back then it was different because I mean I know. Listen, when I went to arbitration as a first-year catcher, what I got, and if I would have been able to sign a 5-year, $7.5 million, it wouldn't have been that far off. I would have taken that as a pretty good deal, especially back then. I mean, catchers don't get paid until recently. Catchers hadn't really gotten paid, so I kind of disagree with you on this one. Like 2000, I mean, yeah, he could have gotten more, yeah, but I don't know. It's his first contract. He's from Venezuela. I mean, not that should matter, but it does matter, man. It does. It does.
Yeah, of course. Your money situation definitely matters wherever you're coming from. I mean, really, yeah, 8 years, 15 mil for most people in life. It's like, hell yeah, I'm rich. But in baseball terms, it ended up working out. I mean, 5 years, 52.5 from 17 to 21. And then he signed another extension, 21 spring training for 4 years, 82. Now he's rich, but he's also had a nice career at this point and a long one.
I played with him when he was on that contract, and he randomly brought it up one time. So I'm not even giving you my opinion. I'm telling you exactly what he told me. He said, you have to think about the fact that $7 million in Venezuela, I forget how many Bs. I wish I remember. They're called Bs is what their money is called. He said, that's whatever it is, 49 million Bs. He said, my family will never have to worry about money again. He didn't say, ooh, I wonder where the rest of my money is going to come from. Ooh, I can't wait till I get my next contract. He's like, why would I not sign it? He was like, I never have any idea if I'm going to have guaranteed money or not the rest of my life. He said, now my family will never have to work again in their entire life. That was with $7 million. Now look at how much he's made.
Yeah. Hundo something, probably close to 150 in career earnings, if not more. So that's a lot of B's.
And
last word.
And anybody that ever says, oh, he shouldn't take that or you shouldn't take that money, that's you. Don't tell someone else what their career could be or should be worth, because that's life-changing money no matter what.
Yep, good stuff. You could say that to me about the last segment for bringing up Bieber, but just bringing it up, reporting the news, that's how the offseason goes. And we'll slap hands next. Holy splitter. Cyrus just posted this. AJ, I thought you'd like it. Number of split fingers thrown by postseason in the pitch tracking era. Anything stand out to you on this chart?
Well, I mean, it's obviously through the charts, but I'll also say this. We also had more Japanese, and as Foster Griffin said, the Japanese pitchers throw the split finger more than anybody. That's kind of like a specialty pitch for them. So, yeah, does it surprise me? Absolutely not. But it's also you have to look at who was in this postseason a lot. And the Dodgers pitched Sasaki, Yamamoto, Shohei, right? So there's a lot, boom, 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 boom. There's three main pitchers for the Dodgers who threw a lot of innings, and you throw in Gausman, and you throw in your Savage. Right? There's a lot. There's five guys that are named that their best pitches are split finger. So it was more a function of who was in the postseason.
That's true. When you look at the personnel and the fact that those teams are obviously logging way more pitches since they're going deeper into the postseason. But it still brings up the fact that you have two teams that feature a lot of splitters from their pitchers that went deep. And you know what it means. Everyone's doing what Kratz just did this offseason.
Try it out. Got to try it. But who's the best one you ever caught, AJ?
Oh, Jose Contreras by far.
That was a fork ball. He would get that thing way in here. That was like a freaking knuckleball.
It was. Saw him hit Willie Tavares right in his junk one day. He used to drop down and
Willie's
throw that
Willie?
thing, and it would go.
Yeah. Willie's Willie got crushed.
What about you, Kratz? Best splitter
Best
you
one?
caught?
Masahiro Tanaka. Masa had the best control and could throw it like, I'm like, is this even really a split? Like, he knew how to make it move different directions, straight down. And then when the playoffs came, he was like, I'm going to throw a better one now that we're in the playoffs. I'm like, what? You had a better one? Why didn't you throw it during the year? He was the best at it consistently.
Wow. Why didn't he throw it during the year? Strain on the arm?
No idea, but he also was told to drill somebody, and it was the hardest pitch of his entire season. It was 97. So
wow,
there's that.
You're like, oh, you had that? Yeah,
right.
Just for hitting people.
I'm telling you, he was a different level. He was a pitching savant.
Yeah, he was fun to watch, Masa. He's man. Hey, let's slap. Kratz hats, you're up first.
I can't give one Chicago love without giving the other Chicago love. That, and we're probably not going to talk about them much this offseason because they've already made their one offseason move. $20 million, Luis Robert. Enjoy your time there.
Boom.
What do you mean? Jerry said they're going to spend.
They did.
I'm confused.
They just did.
They did.
$20
They
million.
activated a dude that they just won't give up on because they feel like they should get something for him. There were some quotes. Maybe we'll do a segment on it soon. One other thing I wanted to point out. No? You don't want to do a segment on it?
We'll see.
Okay. We got 51 million total between US, Canada, and Japan for World Series Game 7. All the numbers are in. Largest global audience since the Jack Morris Game 7.
91.
That was a long time ago. 91. Long time ago. That's good. Good for the game.
Baseball's dying. Baseball's dying, right?
Yeah.
That's what people want you to think. That's what people want you to think. It's not true.
So who's getting all that money?
They destroyed NBA numbers. MLB destroyed NBA numbers.
Oh, yes. For Game 7.
Who's getting all that money? Is that the players? The players are getting all that money from all that viewership, right? That's who's getting all that money.
No, the players don't get anything from Game 7.
Oh, right. It's the owner.
That was a layup. Hey, we're back for 2 minutes, and then we will get you to May Day with Trevor May. We can continue the combo for a moment there. And that is an incredible number since 1991. Of course, we've talked about the fact that Canada was super involved for this go-round. Japan is super involved for this go-round. So next year, if we don't see these teams, don't expect to get that global number thrown your way. Perhaps they'll go with the domestic number at that point. But it was necessary to throw that number out there. I mean, that is a massive number. Over 50 million people tuning in. And I got to double check if that was the average. Yeah, that's the average audience. I always like to point that part out too. There are more people that actually tuned in. That's the average concurrent audience, as in at one period of time throughout the game, that is the average that you would see on the screen. Like if you were watching YouTube, right? You would see the average for the globe at 51 million.
What was it last year? Because it was Dodgers Yankees. Everyone's like, whoa, media darling. Dodgers Yankees. I get it. The series wasn't as good as
it wasn't that high. It wasn't that high.
But it was. Nope.
It wasn't close to that high, from what I recall. My guess is
it was good, but it wasn't that
30s.
I wouldn't even say it was that high. I bet.
So this was like a dream World Series.
People were into this. People were into this World Series for a lot of reasons. One, Toronto was a new team that people hadn't seen a whole lot of. And two, you had a lot of people that tuned in to watch the Dodgers lose because they were ruining baseball. So there was people that tuned in for hate, and there was people that tuned in to watch another team win that was new. So this was, yes, as much as people don't want to admit it, this was a really good World Series for a lot of reasons.
That's right. Dominant. Very cool. We'll let you know any other numbers that come out, but I think that was the last big one that we were waiting for because we had gotten US and Canada, but there's Japan. It felt like it. It felt like everyone was watching it. You know, I had a lot of casuals that are in my life that were like, oh, I was watching. Some even that were watching Game 3, which I felt like was nuts. My older sister watches maybe a few games all year, and she was like, I watched all of Game 3. I was like, why? I was like, you watched all of Game 3 and didn't go to sleep? She's like, nah, I was into it.
Maybe it'll come up when Trey Savage. This area was just on fire because a kid from Boyertown was in the World Series, like barbershops and salons. So when we get Trey Savage on here one day, you know, there was casual fans that would have completely shut down watching the World Series. Watching this World Series, and they got drawn in for a great one.
Game's in a good place. Last comment here on the way out, and then you can watch Trevor May's May Day. We announced 3 new shows yesterday, and some comments were like, oh, and baseball is dying. Yet Foul Territory is adding shows left and right. We ain't doing it if nobody's watching and listening. So thank you to everyone. We're here every single day. See everyone tomorrow.